You're welcome back. You're watching TV3 New Day, and it's now time for big issues, where we talk about the big issues making the rounds in our country, in the world of politics, our social life, and more. My name is Nasha Kor. I'm glad you've joined us. We're interactive. So with the hashtag TV3 New Day, you can connect with us on X. I'll read your messages as they come in. But this morning, if you haven't played Cash Out, I wonder what you're waiting for. Please dial now, *439#. It's a holiday, and so we're giving you a little more than usual. We usually do our jackpots on Friday, but today we are doing it on Monday because it's a holiday, and you know, we are kind and we are nice, and we want you to enjoy the holiday to the fullest and give you a little extra money before payday in a few days. So dial *439#, *439#. Select option 8 for MG jackpot. And then you play about 25 to 30 times, or at least 25 times. But you can play about 40 or 50 times and increase your chances of winning this morning on the show. We're giving away 15,000 Ghana cedis, 15. So that will be 5,000 cedis to 3 of you this morning on the show. All right. So play and enjoy your winnings this morning. And enjoy the holiday properly. And right after our big issues, we'll let you know who's won what. All right. So today on Big Issues, we're going to delve into a very critical topic, which is shaping our country's democracy. Ghana's political duopoly and the elusive third force. With the 2024 elections behind us, we are going to carefully consider our country, Ghana's appetite for a third force or otherwise. We have seen a recent Global Info Analytics poll which tells us that 52% of voters in Ghana say that they do not support a third force. 52% of voters, you and I, do not support a third force. Even though Nana Kwame Bediako and Alan Chemating have tried their best, or they are trying their best to be that third force in our country's politics. Doesn't mean that voters are comfortable with the NDC-NPP duopoly, or do they simply not trust a third force's ability to govern, and so give them the chance to govern and see where it goes? Are we not ready for it, or are we simply comfortable and happy with the NPP and the NDC? We'll get into that. Also, a rather worrying issue is the issue of road traffic accidents on our roads. If you drive in Accra and most parts of the country, really, you would notice the problem with street lights, road markings erased, road traffic, police officers try their best, but the accidents are recorded every day on our roads. If you look at the numbers, it's quite alarming, and we'll bring you a shot on the screen so that you can see the numbers for yourself. But this year alone, between January and March, this year, a total of 3,674 accidents have been recorded on our roads. 3,674. Between January and March alone. These crashes involved 6,143 vehicles. I mean, these numbers are alarming for 3 months, and the numbers keep going up year on year. We're going to take a critical look at what's causing this and how together as a nation we can cure this. While there's the issue of traffic lights, there's the issue of potholes and road markings, there's also the issue of irresponsible driving. And we've been told that you're more likely to die by road traffic accidents than you are by a disease that's ailing you. So that is a scary thing to know. We'll get into that on the show as well. But before that, let us meet our guest in studio. First, we have Honorable Inusa Fuseni, a former lands minister. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. You're welcome to the show.
Belated Easter to you.
It's still Easter. Oh.
Is it really? Today is a holiday.
Today is Easter Monday.
Easter Monday?
Yes.
It's still Easter Monday?
So it's still Easter, yes.
Okay, so we can, when we close, we can come home and take some.
Oh, amazing. Are you preparing fufu and goat light soup?
Good light soup.
Yes.
Okay. So when we finish?
For breakfast.
For breakfast?
Yes.
Or akpole?
Yes. For dessert.
And for tendochi?
All right. Also on the show this morning, we're joined by Dr. Bernard Tutu Boahene, political strategist. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I absolutely love your shirt.
Thank you.
Yes, when you walked in, I was looking at it.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Yes, Thanks. It's very nice. You're welcome. And I hope your Easter is going well so far.
Yes, by the grace of God. I mean, once you're a Christian and you believe in the birth and death of Christ, I think that Easter should be one of the grace moments that when you are alive, you give thanks and praise to God.
Amen.
So we thank God, at least, for sacrificing His only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, to mankind. Those of us who believe, in the resurrection of Christ, we believe that this is the best gift God has ever given to man.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. You took us to church a little bit over there, but it's important as today is a significant day for Christians as we mark the resurrection of Christ. Also joining us on the show today is Musa Dankwa, and he's Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. It is Global Info Analytics who have brought us this poll saying that 52% of Ghanaian voters are not ready for a third force. Musa Dankwa, good morning and thank you for joining us. Musa Dankwa, can you hear me? All right, he's joining us on Zoom, and sometimes, you know how it is, the network will fail us. Can you hear me? Okay, he's back with us. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Musa Dankwa? All right, the connection again. But we'll go back to Musa Dankwa in a moment. But you can let us know if you agree with the poll that has just been published by the Global Info Analytics. Are Ghanaians ready for a third force? The poll says 52% of Ghanaian voters say no, we are not ready for a third force. And my question to you is it because we are happy with the performance of the NDC and the NPP, hence, encouraging the duopoly? Or is it because we are just not sure about the competence of a third force to properly govern us as a nation? Let us know with the hashtag TV3 New Day. You can connect with us on Twitter or X. I see some of your messages already coming in, and well, I'll read them as we go. But Musa Dankwa will join us and give us a proper details about his research, and that will help guide our conversation this morning on the show. It's unfortunate we cannot start with him, but let me start with the political strategist in the studio. Doc, when you've seen the report?
Yes.
What's your take on it? Your general overview.
All right. So let me again say good morning to our viewers, and I think that you see all these things speaks to the trends that we have witnessed, in elections over the years from 2000 downwards, to 2024. Obviously, registered political parties which come as third forces have not fared very well, going into any election. And independent candidates who have also, contested have also not fared well, in any election in Ghana. And so when Musa came in with that result, I wasn't surprised.
Okay.
That 52% of Ghanaians seems to suggest that obviously there's no need for a third force. It doesn't really suggest to me that it is a rejection, right? Because at least more than 30% also believe that a third force is desired and is possible. Now, what it means is that when you check the trend, obviously Ghanaians are looking for certain, characteristics, certain, requirements, within the third force, which of course they are not getting. It also suggests to me that obviously when you check how far NDC and MPP have come, it tells you that they are actually grounded, in our body politics, especially in the 1992, constitution. And what it means is that it will take a very strong, political party to come up and actually give some kind of pressure, you know, to these two major political parties.
So it's possible?
For me, it is. I mean, the Bible says that everything is possible under the sun. So the possibility is there. That's why I initially talked about, you know, the 52 as against the over 30% who believe that, you know, third force is desired. All right.
Let me give you just a little more statistics. I was hoping Musa Dankwa would do this, but let me just give you a little more info on the poll, so that we know the numbers and the distribution. And they also have carefully divided it amongst NDC voters and NPP voters, so we know exactly what the percentages are. But again, let's try and see if Musa Dankwa is there. Musa Dankwa?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. Great to have you on the phone lines now. Awesome. So your poll was released on the 17th, just a couple of days ago, and it tells us that 52% of Ghanaian voters are not ready for a third force. That is what we know. Can you give us details?
Well, thank you very much for having me. This is a question that we've been yearning to ask for some time now. This very poll was a special poll which was conducted alongside the CGS poll, but we are releasing bits and pieces of it as we think it is relevant. Yes, most voters we spoke to said they don't believe that the third force, they will support the third force in Ghana. But 31% are saying that yes, we will support the third force, and 17% don't have an opinion. Now, if you take a critical look at these numbers, you would notice that about 61% of people who say they are MPP are opposed to this third force, compared to 22% who are inclined to support it. When you come to the NDC, it's about 53% who oppose it and 30% who support it. Now, when it comes to floating voters, slight majority, about 43%, support the idea of third force, and then 42% will not support the idea of third force. So you could see that the reception to third force is stronger among floating voters, followed by NDC, and then MPP last.
Okay. One of the questions that came up when we put this up on our social media platforms was, what led you to conduct this poll? What were you looking for?
You know, I believe personally that the emergence of a third force or a third party, or if we have a situation where another party besides MPP and NDC are also dominant a bit, or have a bit of democracy that is consultative, that will prevent us from this winner-takes-all kind of syndrome that we've had in this country for many years. And so I felt we needed to ask the voters whether there's something that they would consider. And indeed, we've done some work in the past along this third line, along the same line. We asked them if they would support candidates who may not come from their party. And some of them said yes. And the numbers differ from one region to the other. So for people like Alan Chinamartin's Movement for Change and Cheddar, they must look at where there might be opportunity for them to make an inroad and to put themselves as a third force. You cannot just wait for election cycle and emerge as a third force and expect to make gains. This must be a long-term project where they begin from somewhere, forming a political party and work their way through. It will not happen in just one election cycle. It takes some time, and they must prepare for that. There's no way they can have a quick win in this scenario.
All right. Now, did you ask the people who participated in this poll what they think, or who they think the potential third force can be in Ghana between the various options that we have?
Yes, we did. When you look at the data we just published, the new force, Cheddar, came up 39%. So people who believe that a third force may be required, almost 40% are saying Cheddar is seen as the third force that can emerge. And then the Movement for Change, led by Chinamartin, 31%. And about 30% are saying some other group. So you could see that it's fairly split. And either Movement for Change, New Force, or any other group may have potential of becoming a third force, or they may get support to become a third force, but they must work for it.
Did they assign reasons for their answer? Did you give options for reasons for your answer?
No.
All right.
These were close-ended questions without reasons. Now, the interesting aspect is, I think, if you look at the age group of people who may be looking for third, kind of amiable to third forces. Now, for those who said new force, about 50% of them, or people who are 18 to 24, mentioned new force as the third force. 19% said movement for change, and 31% other groups. When it comes to those who are 35 and 34, again, 42% are saying the new force, cheddar, and 37% are saying movement for change. You could see that the younger generation are backing cheddar to be the new force.
I see. Now, talk to us about the general sample size. How many people did you involve in the conduction of this poll?
We sampled 2,545 voters across all the 16 regions.
Okay.
In a random pool of numbers that we have, with the margin of error 2.51. And
how did you conduct the survey? Did you send them questionnaires, or did they have to? How did you do it?
This is telephone poll. We call it computer-assisted telephone interview.
So you called them?
Yes, we called them.
And they are randomly sampled?
Yes.
All right. Okay. I saw an interesting fact in the report summary on whether the recent court case involving Honorable Kennedy Ohene Japan and Anas in the United States could affect his chances in the incoming MPP primaries. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. We, as pollsters, we have our ears on the ground, and sometimes things that we believe we find out, we go to the public and seek their opinion on. And people have shared the view that the Kennedy case may have impact on him in the upcoming primaries. And normally, these gossips don't go anywhere unless there's a poll, and that's what we are there to do. So we decided to take this on ourselves to see what the people think about that issue. Nationally, about 52% of voters are saying no, they don't believe it will have any impact on his chances in the MPP primary. Whereas 27% said it might have, 27%. Now, if you drill down the data, that's where it gets very, very interesting. Among those people who matter, that's the MPP voters, only 18% think it will have impact on his chances.
Okay.
66% said they don't think it will have impact on his chances. So that is the good news for him overall.
Okay, so that's good news for him. All right, we'll come back to you for more information. But before I come back to studio, can you tell us the distribution among, gender, male and female, the people who participated in the poll?
Yes, we have gender, male being 57%, and then female 43% of the sample.
All right. And in your questions, did you ask any gender-based question about a third force or the potential of a woman in politics rising to be the third force?
Not in this round of poll.
Not in this poll. All right. Okay, let's come back to studio. Honorable, what are your thoughts on the poll generally?
First of all, I think that it's important for us to thank Musa Dankwa for this scientific poll. That for now, we are discussing the activity of Musa Dankwa that has scientific basis. It's not just gut feeling. And he's told us that he's gone around the country through telephone conversation to elicit the responses of people. He's told us the number of people that he spoke to. And it appears that his results, research results, have some level of confirmation in our past history. And so I believe that, yes, as we sit today, Ghanaians are not overly predisposed to a third party because of many reasons. Institutional mechanism, a party as a legal entity, as an institution that could govern a country, whether we have a party that can put in place all the human material resources to be able to galvanize support, to move the people of this country, to give it the mandate to rule. And we see it even from the beginning of our independence movement. The first, if you want, a third force, it was not particularly a third force, was the emergence of the CPP.
Yes.
Before the emergence of the CPP, there was one monolithic group, the United Gold Coast Convention, and everybody worked towards the independence of this country. But the UGCC was seen largely as a conservative group. So the radicals within that group, led by Nkrumah, decided to break away to form the CPP.
Okay.
But there were no two parties. There's only one monolithic independent movement, because the Aborigines Rights Protection Society was not a political party. Okay. Now, so if we trace it that way, you say, well, it can emerge, but there must be a vacuum. Okay. So in that UGCC case, it appears to me that the UGCC as a conservative group its actions were not aligned to some members of the UGCC group who were radical.
Okay.
And so the radical wing of the UGCC, led by Nkrumah, broke away. The real first third party movement in this country is the NDC. The real third party, political party. Because until the emergence of the NDC, there were two parties and offshoots of the two parties: the Convention People's Party and the Popular Front Party. The Popular Front Party came out of the UGCC. Now,
so did the CPP.
So to the CPP, but because of the break during independence, they were not charting different courses. So you had people aligned to the Popular Front Party and people aligned to the CPP. Now, so when Rawlings staged his coup d'etat and had opportunity to rule this country for 11 years, there was the building, Abuchi or the University of Ghana always said that there was a complete revolution. He started somewhere, and by the time he got to 1992, there was a complete revolution. Many people had come on stream, many people imbibed the philosophy, and now there was a third party. So you will see the membership of the MPP at the time of the NDC at the time that it was formed. It made up largely of people who were in MPP. Great men who were MPP who had crossed over to the NDC, and great men who were in the CPP who had crossed over to the NDC.
There was a combination of people who had broken away from the other two parties.
Yes.
And what happened to the Popular Front Party?
So it started coming down. The Popular Front Party even went through many challenges. Now, the UNC of Powuli was an offshoot of the Popular Party. Third force would never materialized, would never saw the light of the day. Okay, so the real third force that has gotten a foothold in Ghana politics actually is the NDC. And when the NDC got that foothold, that worked to diminish the impact and presence of CPP on the Ghanaian political scene. So again, give the impression that somehow we have been working towards a duopoly in this country, that we've lined behind neoliberals and social democrats in this country.
I want you to hold the thoughts, and I'm enjoying the history lesson, but we were supposed to be joined in studio by one of the communications, senior communicators for the Movement for Change, who could not join us because he had an emergency. But they've joined us on the phone lines, and I'd like us to connect with them just to find out how they perceive this new poll that has come out by Global Info Analytics. Solomon Usu has just joined us. Hello, Solomon.
Hello, now.
Thank you for joining us. Have you seen the poll?
Yes, I've seen it, I've read it, and I believe that he's entitled to his opinion.
How does it strike you?
Polls are expressions of opinions of people, and it's early days yet. We believe that organization decides everything. The way a manner movement for change will organize itself going ahead. Would dispel all these stars expressed. Come to think of it, our movement has an emblem as a butterfly. And now you and I know the various stages that butterfly moves before it becomes an adult. It starts at the head, it moves to become a larva, from a larva to a pupa and an adult. So we were very clear in our mind when we were establishing the movement on the 26th of September 2023. At that time, it was transitional. We didn't want to come out as a political party. Mind you, Alan Chemadin contested as an independent candidate. That is what people forget to acknowledge. The movement was only a vehicle that was supporting his bid to, as it were, push to the next stage. We are done with that transition. Now we would move into a full-year political party where you have your structures in all the constituencies, the 276 constituencies, which means that you're going to have constituency executives, which means that you're going to have polling station executives who are going to work in the interest of the political party. The moment it happens, then the central figure of each other does not matter. It becomes a political party. When we were presenting as an independent candidate, everything revolved around him. When he moves to become a political party with genuine members of society joining it, with people with integrity, the Ghanaian will realize that these folks sometimes it works, sometimes it don't work. And so we are taking it down, guys. We are very focused on what we intend to do to become the third force in this country.
I thought you might be happy that over 30% of the people who participated in the poll said that they believed that Ghana was ready for a third force.
And I think the numbers should even be more than that, because if you look at the figures that came out of the last elections, I think the propaganda that went against Mr. Lanchimate was what, as a matter of fact and principle, left of course the NDC to have now emphatic.
Your number was 31,202 votes.
It doesn't matter. And I'm saying that on the election day when you have the incumbent government going around places like Yasante with the telling them that the has put out of an election, you accept it. When all forces have been jeered against him as an individual, he wouldn't stand much. That is why you need a solid political party with men and women of integrity in society that will join it, that will be able to woo the masses to implement the very great transformation plan that we gave to the people of this country. I mean, come on, how can we go into an election when a candidate that presented a plan will be rejected? For those that only presented manifestos, and remember, manifestos are only a set of promises. It tells you that
the question is whether a third force like Alan Chemating has the ability to pool, I mean, like Honorable just said, the resources, institutional resources and so on, to be able to govern a country coming into the race just 2 years before the election.
So political parties, that's why I said about saying that political parties do not revolve around an individual. Any political party that fails the system around an individual will suffer serious consequences. Once we agree that is the ideals and principles of individuals coming from different backgrounds, then your question of whether or not you'll be able to pull resources, that's all right. Because if I'm joining a political party, I must go with something. If now support will be benevolent enough, we see the importance of the plan that you have presented and joining us, you also come in with something so that you pull resources together to fight and win. And we believe that once it becomes a political party, your fears of mobilizing resources will be allayed. You will be able to compete, and you will compete in terms of organization. Organization decides everything. Once people see that you are very much organized, they wouldn't mind helping your cause. And if anybody comes and sees that you yourself, you are not organized, nobody wants to put his resources into an organization that's not well structured.
All right.
That is what you must expect from the movement for change going
Speaking of organization, I mean, I had a conversation in this studio ahead of the elections with Honorable Alan Kyerematen, and he presented his plan, his great transformational plan, which many have applauded to be an amazing plan, you know, speaking to all aspects of the economy, social change, you know, taking the country from where it is to where we want it to go, the economy and so on. Great plan. And this plan was presented to Ghanaians in good time, ahead of some of the manifestos that the NDC and the NPP presented. And yet Ghanaians still did not go out to vote the way you expected them to. Gathering just 31,202 votes, not just because 31,000 is a lot of people, but as compared to what you expected, the numbers were very low. What does that tell you about our preparedness to accept a third force?
So we went into an election, we have done our postmortem, one of the things that was the case was the fact that the candidate thought that he as an independent candidate was not going to have members of parliament to even push his agenda. The Ghanaians thought that the NDC and NPP were not the alternatives. I think at the end of the day, Alan Kyerematen becoming president was supposed to rely on the members of parliament from these two political parties. And it means invariably these two political parties that the Ghanaians want to see are the ones running the show. So what do you do from there? And that is why we are going to metamorphose into a political party where we will have people contesting on us to be members of parliament. It changes the game. In terms of the plan, nobody in this country understands the fact that Alan Kyerematen presented a superior plan ahead of the 2024 elections. I mean, I'm very happy you did the interview. I know you have read the plan, and I know that for the position that you are sitting at the anchor, you can tell your viewers and listeners that in terms of comparing our plan to the manifestos of the NPP and NDC, we topped off. And that was why when the National Democratic Congress candidates won the elections, and President John Mahama won the elections, we did not go there to seek anything, but rather went there to present the plan for him to follow it to build this country. So coming with a political party would change all these narratives that we are discussing this morning, and then you will see it as it plays out.
So just to be clear, going into the 2028 elections, Alan Kyerematen will be contesting with or on the ticket of a political party and not as an independent candidate.
So let me also put it this way, that while he is not he's not going to be a lifetime candidate of our party. He's going to be a political party. Nominations will be open. Any qualified Ghanaian, worthy of the sort, will be allowed to pick a nomination form, go around and convey delegates, and once delegates accept him, he will be our flag bearer. It doesn't automatically mean that Mr. Alan Kyerematen is going to be our flag bearer. It doesn't work like that.
Okay.
We wouldn't have been different from what the new Patriotic Party is. But he went into favor of one person. Now, we believe in freedom of expression. We believe in the tenets of democracy. And therefore, we will open our doors for anybody worthy of a sort to contest our primaries. Interesting.
All right. So, Alan Kyerematen is not the automatic choice for the movement of change going into 2028. All right.
That's why you can raise your boots if you want petitions and you want to
I'm not a politician. But thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us and clarifying your party. I believe it's a party now, your party position on this poll from Global Info Analytics. And hopefully we will talk to you again soon in studio. Further on your plans moving forward. Thank you so much. That was Solomon Owusu from the Movement of Change. He is one of the senior communicators, and he says that, well, 31% of you voters say that you are not ready for a third force, but that is just an opinion, he said. And the Movement for Change going into the 2028 elections will come as a political party to challenge the NDC and the NPP, and not as the party candidates will not come in as an independent candidate like they did in the 2024 general elections. Honorable Doc, he said a lot of things, but I guess what I get from his posture is that this poll should not be what we should go by, that the movement for change is poised and ready, and they can't be able to, you know, break this NDC-NPP duopoly. You are giving us some history about the NDC being the only real third force so far.
So far, yeah.
In our country's political history to succeed. Do you see the posturing as of the movement for change as one that is likely to be the third force in recent time to succeed in our politics?
So you need to look at what made it possible for the NDC to emerge as a third force in the country. What made it possible? Revolution, continuous stay in office, different agenda, an agenda different from the existing political ideologies that were there before the emergence or before the coup d'etat of Rawlings and subsequent populist policies that were championed by him. And finally, the gravitation of people in the middle, towards the ideals of the revolution to metamorphosize into a political party. So, and that's how, I mean, and everybody who is in NDC can trace his roots either to the MPP or to the, to the Buja Danko tradition or to the Nkrumah's tradition. Okay? You don't have that now. And all attempts by people, and I agree with him, it appears to me that the attempts to form a third force has been centered around people. Whether it is Cheda, whether it is Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings, whether it is Alan Chiramanten, it's centered around people. And Ghanaian voters see beyond those people. Now, if you give a mandate to a person, how is he going to rule?
But every political party fields a person, and this is the person who carries the message.
So every political party is... So when you look at the Constitution, every political party sponsors a candidate. So you have the advantage of an institutional mechanism behind that person, and the advantage, further advantage of the political party coming out with his ideology, his philosophy, his policies captured in the manifesto, which manifesto will have to be gone through by members of the party and agree that this is what we are presenting to the people of this country as a social contract. Yes, other political parties, movements for change, came out with their great transformational plan. But the question is, how were they going to implement it?
They actually had details on exactly how the implementation.
The first thing is that we are practicing a democracy, a fusion of the presidential and parliamentary systems of government. Now you come out with a great transformational agenda, but you don't have members of parliament to push your agenda in parliament. How do you implement the agenda?
So he says that after they conducted their post-mortem, that's one of the things that they noticed. Yes. And so going into 2028, they are going to open nominations for parliamentary candidates
exactly.
as well.
So if you don't have it, and you were thinking that movement for change could become a third force in the last elections, then you were dreaming. Because clearly, our governance architecture will not support you. How will you go? If you are not in parliament, how do you push your policies through? Because
policies are supposed to serve Ghanaians, and so if you don't have members of parliament, this is me playing the devil's advocate. If you don't have members of parliament, and yet I don't think it actually makes it actually doesn't. What you're saying is right. Our governance architecture does not support not having members of parliament to push policy. Anyway, I want to go back to Musa Dankwa, who is still with us on Zoom, to quickly respond to some of the comments by our speaker earlier, Solomon Owusu from the Movement for Change. Musa Dankwa, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
All right. So Solomon earlier mentioned that your opinion poll is merely opinions, and it doesn't really tell us much. I wanted to respond to that first, and then also let us know what your thoughts are as a pollster on what their chances are coming into the elections, 2028 elections, as a political party and not as an independent candidate like they did in 2024.
You know, all right. I mean, this is the perception so far. And if you listen to the history, Ghana has been duopoly for a long time. It would take just one cycle of election to have them have somebody coming as a third force. So they must really come to them the reality. They need to work hard. Okay. In terms of whether to make an impact in the next election, it depends on what they do from today, going in 2024. What are they going to put in place in terms of machinery, systems, structures, and everything? And what's going to be their message? And how are they going to count that message against the two duopoly? That is up to them. But they must realize on their lap easily. They must fight for it. And they must see that as a project rather than just a transactional transaction. They have to have a plan going forward, year on year, how they can engage the public, who their target, in fact, in which region will be amiable to their third force concept. You cannot just go everywhere. You must do targeted strategy. Otherwise, you will be spending money across the country and you may not make any impact.
What are their chances in the Ashanti region?
I think if you look at the data that we have, they are more sympathetic in Ashanti region than we've seen for M4C, which is an opening for them. I'm not sure that those sympathy can translate into membership. That's a different matter. At the moment, MP is vulnerable in Ashanti region, and any third force that is serious could have impact on their numbers there. All
right. All right. Thank you so much, Musa Dankwa, for joining us and for sharing your poll with us. And we look forward to having more conversations with you. As you did mention that this is just a small part of the continuing polls that you're gathering post-2024 election. So we look forward to the next one. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Doc, you listened to Solomon from the Movement of Change. Movement for Change. I keep saying Movement of Change. Movement for Change. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the things that he said?
Yeah, so for me, I think that, you see, polls or research is meant to put certain perceptions out there. Mm-hmm. So you would probably pick it up and work on it. You know, the outright rejection of some of these polls, it's not good. All right. Certainly, there will be some positives and there will be negatives. And when you check Musa's data, 31%, indicating that, yes, there's a need for a third force, means that even if you do calculations of the voters register in terms of the over 19 million or so in 2024 elections, right, what it means is that that figure is very significant. And that what it means is that if you're able to identify them and then pick on them, assuming all things being possible, all right, and then this 31% decides to, support you, what it means is that Movement for Change is getting 31%. Now, check back for about 12 years now, that is since 2024, none of the other parties, apart from the NPP and NDC, who share over 90% among them, none of them, whether an independent candidate or a registered political party, has been able to make 1%. None of them. You understand?
Yeah.
So the statistics is clear. But, there is still hope, as he said. For me, I believe that what he indicated is the fact that they believe in the systematic development of the Movement for Change. All right. So going into 2024, they were not going to come up with
victory,
or probably indicate to Ghanaians that they were going to do massively well. Okay, that's fine. But going forward in 2028, what is going to be that plan? I think earlier on we asked Musa about as to whether he asked the respondents reasons. In 2020, I did a small survey, and I picked on some of the reasons why people don't vote for, third parties.
Okay.
Okay. And the key major reasons are this issue of credibility. All right. The candidates who, as it were, move to form a political party, people have doubts about their credibilities. Now, it is as a result of the circumstances with which they form their parties. You understand that?
Yes.
Yes. And so you can check from Parkwesi Ndum, check from Gusitando, and the rest, and you find that those reasons clear. Right.
And what's the reason? The disaffection for their former party?
Yes, normally they break away from their parties as a result of disaffections and those things. So people are like, believe that, so if you had not developed this kind of disaffection, would you have gone out? You understand? So these are some of the things. In fact, I don't have my data here,
in front of you.
So but I'm just telling you what I saw. Now, the second issue has to do with gratifications, personal interest, surpassing national interest.
In respect of all the
parties,
independent,
yes,
all the independent candidates
exactly.
we've had,
yes, including independent candidates.
Okay.
I mean, you remember the issue of this kind of diplomatic passports. All right, people believe that now if I am able to register, I get some of these privileges. So they go in there. Okay, if I come in as a third force or a registered political party, and at least I make about 0.01%, okay, definitely when there is a second round, I am going to trade.
Okay.
So those gratifications are in there.
So it's really not about national interest.
No. So the national interest is off. So, and that is what you see sometimes when we begin to look down on the Ghanaian voter, you lose out. The Ghanaian voter has become so much experienced, knowledgeable, and all that. Okay, so they read between lines. All right. Then the third one has to do with internal party, conflicts and frustrations. People feel that political parties, tend to fight among themselves, especially, when a president is hesitant and a new one is coming. Okay, the kind of factions that develop among them is not something that probably speaks to Ghanaians that when you are given the chance, you can do better than, where you are coming from. And so that is why Ghanaians are specifically glued to MPP and NDC. Now, earlier on, I was making a point that, you see, it will take a serious-minded political party, who can actually, cross some of these reasons. Now, in other words, you must be able to establish yourself as credible to Ghanaians. Issues of believability should be there, all right? And you should have that kind of image that Ghanaians don't see, probably this kind of two major political parties, showing.
What image might that be?
Yeah, so the image has to do with trust levels, your honesty and all that. So
Ghanaians don't trust the NDC and the MPP enough.
Oh, obviously, I mean, this 31% of respondents, all right, will probably think that, how do we call it, a third force is desirable because of that. And when you look at even the swing voting patterns in Ghana's election, okay, inter-party cross carpets and all that, you tend to believe that, it is more or less like the two sides of the coin. So if you are going to be a nationalist to vote, okay, so it's either the head or the tail. So if you have to vote, is you are choosing between, the best and the good. All right. So that is what it means. So even when you check, the swing voting population, the growth of swing voting population, and even party ownership, all right, you get to know that obviously people have some kind of lost confidence, in both NDC and MPP. All right. Again, as I said, the statistics are there to prove all these things. All right. And what I mean is, what I want to emphasize here is that until a political party comes out clear to work its way out, I don't see, for now, I don't see a political party, coming to say that we are going to take over.
All right.
Yeah.
Just hold the thought. I have some unfortunate breaking news to share with you. Just reported just now on the BBC a few minutes ago, Pope Francis has died at age 88. Wow. The Vatican has just reported that Pope Francis has died at age 88. He died at his residence in the Vatican's Casa Santa Marta. The Vatican News Service has said that his entire life was dedicated to the service of the Lord and his church. And this is from Cardinal Farewell. His death comes a day after he appeared in St. Peter's Square to wish Happy Easter to thousands of followers. May his soul rest in perfect peace. The BBC has just reported that Pope Francis has died at age 88. All right. All right. Back to our conversation in studio. You mentioned that the 31% of the people who participated in this poll obviously think that a third choice is desirable. But do you think the remaining 51% perhaps also thought that, well, a third force is necessary given the many issues that Ghanaians have with the MPP and the NDC equally, issues of corruption, bad governance, and so on? The 51% may think that a third force is necessary, but not desirable at this time because of the many points that have been raised. Representation in Parliament, the resources to be able to govern and manage a country, and so on.
Remember, MPP went to the 92 elections without, candidates, also so many candidates. I think they didn't even have it. You remember the bulk out in 92, okay? And then 96, they didn't really have members in there. What happened? They still made inroads.
How did they do that?
Yeah, so you see, it had to do with the issue of credibility. Now check the founding members of the MPP and the top hierarchy, of the MPP, when they came contesting the NDC. All right. Honorable said that, NDC is the third major political party, that this country has had. All right. So, we even suggested that they even were at a disadvantage. But 92 meant that we are all starting afresh. So, no, parliamentary candidates, no parliamentary members for NDC, none for the MPP. Unfortunately, NDPP didn't move in there, all right? So NDC had that footing.
Yeah.
Now, in 2000, even when the MPP had a disadvantage in Parliament, they still came back, and then they won majority, I think with about two members more than that of the NDC. Now, what is suggested is that, for me, it is possible, all right, movement for change or, what's the name, the other guy?
New Force.
The New Force, can still make it if they mean well. If they mean
it's
well.
a question of where their heart is.
It's not the question of where their heart is. It's the question of what strategies they put in place.
All right. And that's why I'm glad you're here. You're a political strategist.
Yeah.
Which strategies can they pull to be able to make more inroads in 2028? Alan Tremartin pulled only 0.28%.
Yeah.
Now, that's a significantly low number, but higher than others have done in the past. They are coming in now as a political party and not as an independent. And they are going to field parliamentary aspirants or parliamentary candidates as well. One, I think you've mentioned that this is a good strategy, but what else can they do? What more can they do so that Ghanaians will be more accepting of them, as well as the new force, Nana Kwame?
For me, if I check the face of movement for change, that is Honorable Alan Kyerematen. I mean, when we check Ghana's political history under the Fourth Republic, he's one of the finest politicians Ghana has ever produced. All right. And we believe in brand ambassadors. Okay, so he can easily become the brand ambassador representing movement for change.
Without being the candidate?
He can, even if he is still a candidate.
But he's already the brand ambassador, I mean.
Yes, but I'm saying that probably the ambassadorial kind of work,
responsibility,
yes, should be deepened. All right. Now, if he is able to do that, and he's able to probably reset the minds of Ghanaians to the then Alan Kyerematen of 2007, 2008, and build on that brand, all right, surely a lot more Ghanaians are going to identify with him.
A lot of the voters who ask for the new force, or who support, according to the poll, the new force, are people between the ages of 18 and 24.
Yeah.
And these are young people
Exactly.
who might not have known Alan
Exactly.
Kyerematen in 2007, 2008, or his days under before. All right, so they might not be familiar with his work and what a wonderful and great politician he has been.
Yeah.
Do you think that him, considering how many young people are voting now, being the brand ambassador for the movement for change is the way to go to attract younger voters?
Yes, I'm talking about positioning and repositioning. And in positioning, you have different segments to work with.
Okay.
And equally, when you check the political brand ambassador scholarship, you get to understand the fact that, even party supporters are brand ambassadors. All right. So if we are using the ambassadorial argument, then what it means is that we still go beyond Alan to position other people. Okay, because you see, the current trend in politics suggests that it is not just the presidential candidate who do the trick. All right. What it means is that all other forces must be complementary to that of the presidential candidate.
Like what? Like
the vice president, like regional executives, constituency executives. We are all representing the brand, from different perspectives. All right. So my point is that if you are having a leading, ambassador, what are the characteristics of that person that, people can identify with? Obviously, in 2008, some voters now were not born. Probably even if they were born, they were much younger and didn't know or follow, Alan's politics. That's clear. But again, in brand position, I mean, I wasn't born when Pepsodent was introduced into Ghana, the brand Pepsodent. But I've come to appreciate it, okay? In the same way, some other brands, that people are enjoying now, people didn't know, but they've grown to
Yes, but in our politics, I mean, a lot of people who vote NDC or NPP were probably born into NPP or NDC households. So they saw that their parents were,
in there,
were following or voting for the NDC or voting or following the NPP, and they just sort of were socialized into accepting same. At least if the conversations we've had, especially during the election period, is anything to go by. And so perhaps, I mean, if we know the work that Alan Kyerematen has done in the past, do you think that the influence of parents or older people in households can play to his advantage?
You see, the complication in there is that usually for first-time voters, they identify with their parents and their peers and all that. But second-time voters normally go solo, using their own perceptions and all that. Okay. Yes. So some, yes, for the first-time voter, yes. But even these days, we've seen that even some first-time voters don't really take the advice or the path of their parents, because of this issue about what they believe in and what they have been exposed to. So for me, yes, a political party that desires to become a third force, all right, should have that approach of working to the heart of Ghanaians, positioning itself strongly and, as it were, working so much hard. Because you see, in Parliament, when that caveat of you've not done, you don't have, members of Parliament and all that. It is equally true that Parliament, the moment a president is elected, all right, some members of Parliament, even in the two sides, can support certain ideologies that, a presidential candidate is, turning out. Obviously, the e-leviting, we all thought that it was going to be voted against, isn't it? What happened? Some people crossed to vote in favor of the MPP. And so the most important thing is that if you are trusted and you are elected, whether you have members of Parliament or you don't have, how do you as a leader, leverage on the powers, authority, and the capabilities of Parliament, to run your government? That is the key thing, all right? For me, once
what about
Parliament,
resources?
Resources in terms of campaigning,
all of it. I mean, in order to govern a country,
yeah,
so you win an election,
yeah,
you must have resources.
yes, you must have resources for campaigning. That is a fact. But Movement for Change cannot tell me that they couldn't gather enough resources to campaign.
How can you say they can't tell you that?
Oh yes, but I saw them going through, campaign trails across the country.
But
and
it could not be compared.
Obviously, yes,
it
but
could not be compared
yes,
to
but
what
you do
the major
what you
political
can.
parties did. Okay.
You don't just wake up and probably think that you command the resource base of the MPP and NDC. It is not possible. But at least when you know that 2028 you are going, you see your preparation starts today.
Okay.
Identify potential sponsors. Identify people who believe in your policies and ideologies. Find a way of convincing them to back you with resources. Okay, you know where resources are located and you can pick them and make use of them. Move in there. But if you wait till the last minute, what happens? You are only destroying your own ambition. Okay. Okay, so this idea of resources and all that, the theory, the resource-based view theory and then the dynamic capability theory would tell you, I'm being a bit theoretical now, but that is where we find in academia, these are the theories that we find sense in when we are talking about resources and how to use resources judiciously, for a benefit of a company or an institution. All right. Okay. So it is very instructive that probably, if you don't know how to do that, get an expert. And I've always championed the argument that, look, at a point in time, Ghana's politics need, experts. Experts, directions and all that. You see, we don't have to leave everything to, career politicians. Okay. So if you want to build a solid, I think that this guy started it. Okay, trying to recruit, experts and all that. But yes, along the way, he stopped. I don't know what happened. But you see, some of these things are very important that when you do them, you will reap the benefits.
All right. Honorable Hussein, I'm going to come to you in a moment, but let me read some messages coming in from you watching us at home. Good morning. Now, with regards to the topic you're discussing, a third party can become viable in Ghana only if and when the NDC, like the NPP, has failed Ghana. With regards to the butterfly movement, Chemating alone is not enough to change the fortunes of this country. All right. Good morning, Na, and to the panel in studio. Today's conversation is very interesting. If I were a third force trying to become president in Ghana, I'll target young people. Young people are absolutely tired of old people running the country as if it belongs to them and their family members only. Young people have a voice. Until a presidential candidate who is less than 50 is put up, I don't think I'll be interested in any of this politics. All right. I'll just read one last one and then I'll come back to studio. Jacqueline says, Now, when you asked Musa about women, what did he say? I asked him two questions. I asked the percentage of women, which he gave us, and I asked if, I'm not even sure. I think I asked if he had asked if a female candidate would make a difference, if a third force came with a female candidate, yes. He said he had not asked them that question. Yes. All right. Honorable Hussaini, you said earlier that one of the reasons the NDC did well as a third force was because there was a vacuum. Do you think that in our politics today, considering the sentiments, voter sentiments about the way the NDC and the NPP have governed the country in the past, and this texter just said that if the NDC goes ahead to fail Ghanaians like the NPP failed Ghanaians, then there will be room for the third force. Do you think that there's a vacuum currently, or like this texter, if the NDC fails, there will be a vacuum?
Currently, there's no vacuum.
So there's no space?
There's no space, currently. And this is because of the catastrophic failure of the MPP. Alone?
What about the NDC?
You see, so in 2000, in the year 2000, the Ghanaians went to the poll. No, in 2016, Ghanaians went to the poll dissatisfied totally with the performance of the NDC. Yes. Totally. Now, the MPP campaigned on the basis of the statistics that were available to Ghanaians that showed them clearly, that they showed clearly that your mama's government was not doing well. Now you then move on to 2024, then the statistics become worse. Worse. In fact, no improvement, any improvement was done to the statistics that were condemned in 2016. Now, what does that tell you? That simply tells you that probably what John Dramani Mahama was doing was better, and that we should give him an opportunity to continue. Now, I agree with Dr. when he says that there's credibility deficit. And the question to ask is, all those guys who are coming out with new ideas of a third force, what is their value proposition? What are they offering?
Alan Shemati gave us a plan, a full plan.
Yes, but Alan Tremontin already had a trust deficit.
He had a trust deficit?
Yes.
Alan
Tremontin was part of the government. Mm-hmm. That government that failed. He was a member of cabinet. You mean he didn't have opportunity to self-correct? If the government was leading us into the abyss, why didn't he resign? So he had a deficit. Two, it comes back to what Dr. Asusa said, that it appears that when members of a political party feel hard done by their political parties, they exit. And when they exit, they are unable to convince anybody that they will do things differently. We saw that in Pawili, the UNC. Pawili was an offshoot of the PFP. He didn't do anything. His party contested only one elections and fizzled out.
So you're saying that a third force must be completely independent?
The third force must come with a value proposition. And when you watch parties that have made a significant impact on political landscapes across the world, they identify something within the community that they want to champion. And they don't just escalate like what is happening in Ghana at a go. So if you are going to target the youth, or you are going to target Ashanti, or you are going to target, illegal mining, or the despoliation of the environment, you identify that segment of population that appear to be concerned with a certain developmental issue in the country, and then you are going to champion it. Then you get those people to rally behind you. After all, a party is a conglomeration of people with the same interests. They come together to support that cause. You must start with 1, 2, 3 members of parliament. And in fact, parties have done better in terms of aggregating national interests in political, political regimes or architecture that encourages what I would call not presidential systems, but parliamentary systems. That governments come into being by virtue of representation in parliament. Okay, so, or in areas, in systems.
Doc says it doesn't really matter.
It matters. So you look at the statistics. Where there's representative government, political parties, state forces can easily come into being. Where there's a parliamentary system, which is not based on representation.
I actually didn't say that it doesn't matter. But
yes.
What I was trying to represent is that
it has been done.
Given the condition, it is possible. All right. That is if Ghanaians say that we are tired, so we are going for a third party, and then you find yourself in there. Already you didn't field any parliamentary candidates. So the assumption is that you don't have any parliamentarian. But when you get in there as a leader, what do? Are you going to perform abysmally, for a vote of confidence to be cast on you and get you rejected? Or you are going to learn how to bring these two parties together? Obviously they can undermine you, but how do you as a leader come out of some of these things and then establish yourself,
you will not be doomed to fail.
No, but why should you even think about that?
So like I was saying, so when you look at the statistics, when you look at the evidence across the world, third force parties or parties perform better in regimes that allow for proportional representation or in regimes that allow for parliamentary democracy. Third force parties do not normally perform well in presidential systems of government.
Okay. So you think that they can do their best, but Ghana is simply not ready because there's no vacuum for a third force.
There's no vacuum yet. There's no vacuum yet.
Okay.
And the political parties are not identifying and offering to the people of this country a value proposition that will catch their imagination.
That will catch their imagination. All right. Interesting. I think we can draw down the curtain on this topic now, on the third force and whether or not Ghana is ready. I'll read a couple more of your messages and then we'll quickly talk about our road traffic situation. Now, I'm learning a lot about Ghana history and politics. Good morning to Honorable Fuseni, and can you please bring him on a one-on-one history of the development of the NDC in Ghana? And then he puts into brackets, notes for the new force. All right, so we should have we should have a session on the history of the NDC in Ghana, notes for the new force. So he should help the new force come into force. That's what you're saying. I see. Okay. All right. When I listened to Solomon earlier, I felt like he was too angry. This is a survey that has been presented. What you must do as a prudent politician is to listen and advise yourself. There's no point being angry. This is how the NPP behaved when the Global Info Analytics survey reports were coming out. And at the end of the day, the reports were correct. Listen and correct yourself. And that is from Delasi. All right. Nana says that in all of this, the question is, can the voter tell us exactly what they want the new force to do so that the new force will do it? I really don't get it. I'm sure Ghanaians will vote for NDC and NPP forever, no matter what a new force says or does. Let's leave it alone and just know that we are stuck with the NPP and the NDC forever. Forever? Okay, that's what Manasseh. I'm sure before the NDC came into force also, we believed that we were stuck with the GCPP.
No, the CPP and the then PFP.
PFP forever at the time.
At the time.
No, I think that the
did it look like at the time?
Was the 78 election.
No, the PFP was the 69. Buzia's Popular Front Party. Yes.
Where were you in 69?
69, I was in Ghana.
At which point in your life? Were you a student? Were you...
I was a pupil.
You were a pupil?
Yeah.
You had just finished law school?
No, I was people. Primary school.
Primary school.
Primary school?
Yes.
Right. So when you said pupil, I thought you meant pupillage.
No, not pupillage.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so on to road traffic accidents. And these are some very alarming figures that we've got from...
The 69 was... The 79 was...
The Popular Front.
The Popular Front was 79.
Victor Usu.
It was 79.
Yes,
okay.
The 69 one was Progress Party.
Exactly.
The Progress Party. Yeah.
Aren't you going to ask me where I was in 69?
No, what?
All right.
Yeah.
So these are some figures that we have gotten. A total of 3,674 road traffic crashes. have been reported. 3,674 have been reported from January to March 2025. These crashes involved 6,143 vehicles of all categories. That's private, commercial, motorbikes, cyclists, and so on. This year alone, between January and March, there has been 5,039 casualties. So 5,039 people have died between January and March alone. No, I beg your pardon. So the casualties are 5,039, and the fatalities are 752. 752 fatalities.
7,752?
No, 752.
Okay.
And 4,287 injuries. These numbers are very high. 752 people lost to road traffic accidents between January and March alone. And the issues, in addition to the issue with road markings, faded road markings on the road, I was saying earlier that the last time I used the Pedoase Highway to Accra at night, it was a very scary ride. Because you know how that road meanders in and out, and there were no street lights. Yeah. And there were cars on the road. And if you're not very familiar with the road, even during the day, if you're not very familiar with the road, it's quite a dangerous drive.
Very dangerous.
Yeah. And so in addition to the road street lights not being available in some places, traffic lights not working in some places, road markings erased in some places, there is also the issue of irresponsible driving. And the current canker of us using our phones while we are driving. And the numbers keep going up. We had Abraham Amaleba speaking earlier, telling us to be more careful on the road, especially during Easter. I don't know if we can play that video, but the education is ongoing, but we seem to still be very irresponsible on the road. If you're in traffic, you can just look around. Most people are on their phones, texting, making calls, and people actually watch videos. You know, watching, you see people at night, you can see their screens, and they are watching videos. And for those who aren't, their passengers are, and that can also distract the driver. This is where we are now. We have just a few minutes. I guess we can, at this point, just offer advice before we wrap up the show. I'll start with you, Doc.
Yeah, so I think that we should do more. The road safety, campaign should probably take a different approach. For me, marketing is life. So in marketing, we have what we call social marketing, all right, where you use social marketing initiatives to influence behaviors and achieve a desirable, change.
Initiatives like what?
You mean the social marketing initiatives? Yes. For instance, we could partner with TV stations, media stations, all right, where there will be proper education, like we are talking about. But the messaging, is to let people know, the positives and negatives. Two-sided information, always very important. I mean, overspeeding is good. It gets you to your destination.
It's not good.
No, I'm just making a caveat.
Okay.
Okay. It takes you to your destination on time. All right. But the fact is that these statistics should also be drilled down for us to know how many accidents have been caused as a result of overspeeding. Mm-hmm. Then we can now indicate to people that this year alone, overspeeding had caused these lives. All right. Now, the use of billboards. Some time ago, when you go through Winneba and Mankasim, another dangerous spots, okay, you see billboards in there, and they are warning you, warning signs telling you that 6,100 vehicles were involved in accidents this year across the country. But within this stretch alone, maybe 2,000 have died. That message alone, would put some kind of fear in you.
What do you say to people who say these billboards are actually distracting to drivers? You're trying to drive, and then these billboards are... So you're reading the billboard instead of focusing on the road. Yeah. And since we're on the subject, even these televised, these billboards, which are screens, and some of them are very blinding. I remember driving through Dankwa Circle a couple of years ago. There was this big screen, and the light just enters your eyes just as you're trying to get into the roundabout.
Exactly. So on that stretch alone, for instance, on that stretch, there are about 4 police checks there.
Okay.
So you can identify some police checks, put these billboards there, so that the MTTD people, when you get there and you are stopped, that will be the first education that they give you. Exactly, so that you can now move on and you move with care. Besides, you see, I think Mrs. Danquez, one of his survey, indicated that the police service is one of the corrupt institutions in Ghana. Okay, I think that behavior should be checked very well. So that, you see, at a point in time, I think I was driving on a Sunday to Kumasi. And so a policeman stopped around Eminem. I stopped. And he just came to me and told me that the road is clear today, but I should be mindful of the speed. At least if I move between 50 and 80 kilometers per hour, I can use this number of hours to reach my destination. And I saw a lot of sense in what he was saying. You understand? These are the kind of people we need to train as police people on our streets. And so we can also combine some of these things, to let the police, who are supposed to also protect our lives, protect accidents and all that, we should probably educate them in such a way that they can equally give certain, education to road users. Exactly.
Okay.
So some of these things, I think that
things
help.
we can do to make things
but
better.
The key thing is GPRT and the other,
The National Road Safety Authority.
Not they themselves, but GPRT and the other, driving unions, drivers unions, in Ghana. You see, they have the members. And now it will interest you to know that sometimes when you are driving on the Kumasi stretch and you see the speed with which passenger cars are moving, I mean, you get marveled that even a private car will not even move there.
So the unions should speak to their members?
They should speak. They should, you see, I'm coming to a very important thing, the use of drugs among drivers.
Drugs?
Drugs.
Among drivers?
Among drivers.
Expatiate.
Yes. You see, because they get too tired. The other time when we were seated here talking about Tramadol 225, Red 225, the experts who were here were giving us those statistics. And for me as a driver, sometimes you see that kind of abnormality. Person in this normal sense wouldn't do that. And the reason why they take Tramadol and the rest is that, they come, the in and out and those things, they get too tired. So they want to take these drugs and then to strengthen themselves. In doing that, they become addicted and they take it to overdose.
That's very scary.
It is.
Concerning. Right, let's take a final word from you.
So many years ago, the late chairman of the NDC, Dr. Wayo, we were calling him.
Okay, I thought it was Wayo.
No, Wayo Kobna Aji, we used to call him Wayo.
Yeah, Kobna Aji.
Said that, look, you can fund the budget of Ghana by simply charging or taxing indiscipline. Indiscipline is our bane. Our roads are not good. When you look at the road conduction mix, the percentage of poor roads, bad roads in this country is more than good roads available. What do you see? When driving your car on the road, you find commercial drivers trying to bypass you, using the pedestrian lanes, cutting across from angles that are not permitted by law, exposing other road users to danger. Indiscipline.
Yeah.
Indiscipline. There are no road markings. There are no road markings. So, to the line, there's traffic. All the vehicles are going in one direction. All of them want to reach their destination urgently and in time. But of course, the obstacle is that there's traffic. If you stay in the traffic, you are also going to get there. What do you see on our roads? what do we see? Indiscipline. So there are vehicles in the queue moving slowly towards one particular direction. A driver says he wouldn't follow the queue. He's not aware of a pedestrian crossing the road in between the vehicles. Before you realize, or a motorbike trying to navigate a curve. Before you realize he's hit. Indiscipline. No traffic light, no street lights in the night. So visibility is poor.
Yeah.
You know that. So why are you speeding? Why are you speeding? Maybe under the influence of drugs. Indiscipline. The traffic lights are off. And if you want to know what lack of law in the country does, brings chaos, go to a traffic light that is off. See how a manifestation of the indiscipline at the traffic light
shouldn't go off.
It shouldn't go off, but I'm just telling you that when it goes off, you will appreciate why we are so indisciplined. That we are not able even to conduct ourselves to ensure that the traffic can move on smoothly. We as human beings cannot conduct ourselves. Everybody wants to be able to pass at the same time. Are we human beings? Is that not it? You don't see it? Indiscipline. Indiscipline. Road infrastructure is built.
The visuals on the screen now are from police headquarters just here, down the road. The road traffic, the traffic lights are not working. And there are lots of them across the city. If what's happening in Accra is anything to go by, the traffic lights in most is pushing it. But many of the highways have their traffic lights off. And for those of us who drive at night and very early in the morning, because I leave my home at 4:30 a.m., we see this on the road. Yeah. And it's very scary at night, especially at major intersections like Oponglo and so on.
University of Ghana. Yes.
So while you speak about indiscipline, I need you to also speak about the fact that we need traffic lights to work. Because we saw that John Jumelo actually went to Oponglo to fix the traffic lights after TV3 put out a story about, it was actually on New Day, about the Oponglo traffic lights, and the Member of Parliament, John Jumelo, ensured that that has been fixed. So this morning we saw that it was working. But a lot of the traffic lights are not working. So let's speak about that.
I agree with you. So the traffic, and we call all those things traffic infrastructure or road infrastructure. So the markings must be there. The warning signs must be there. The notices about people who have died, going over speed must be there, just to warn people. We call that, all that is road infrastructure. And so it is incumbent on the Road Safety Commission, and that's their duty, to ensure that the traffic lights at various traffic intersections work, because they regulate the traffic in the absence of human beings. That's why when the traffic lights have been off for a long time, the police deploy an officer of the MTTU to come help direct traffic. But I'm saying that we as human beings, we have the capacity to regulate ourselves.
But we are inherently indisciplined.
Right. So, how did you say that?
I mean, you said that if you want to see how indisciplined people in this country are, go to a traffic light that's not working. So because we know about the inherent indiscipline, we need to ensure that the traffic lights work. Or at the very least, there's an MTTD officer
the road fund makes available to the MTTU, the Ghana Road Safety Commission, money every year to ensure that the traffic lights work.
The Road Safety Commission?
Yes, the road fund allocates money to the Road Safety Commission for the safety of pedestrians on the road, to ensure that traffic infrastructure is in place to ensure safety on the roads. But let's be disciplined. Law enforcement. You find somebody driving recklessly. The police stop that reckless driver, and in just a few minutes, the person is going. No charge. What has happened? What has happened?
Well, it all fits into the corruption that we cry and complain so much about. This is a conversation that will not end today, but I appreciate your contributions. Thank you for being here with us this morning. Honorable Inisa Husseini and Dr. Bernard Tutu Bwahene for being on the show with us this morning. And to those of you who sent in your messages, we appreciate it. Thank you also, Musa Dankwa, for joining us via Zoom, and Solomon Owusu from the Movement for Change. This has been Big Issues on TV3 New Day. The show still continues. We've got some exciting live performances for you, and some of our comedian friends are in the house to feed us some laughter this holiday. But if you're wondering what to do for the rest of the day, today is a holiday. Please go to the beach. It's beachcation this Easter holidays. Create unforgettable memories at the beach with your family and your friends by booking our all-inclusive 3 nights package from the 18th to the 21st of April. Starting from 6,800 Ghana cedis for a couple. Early bird discounts are available. So book now and pay. Book now and pay, and go to the beach and enjoy all access to in-house facilities. The pool, the gym, the cinema, movies with popcorn, board games, snooker. You also enjoy free airport pickup from Takrade, and terms and conditions, of course, apply. Activities include live band music, a tour of the beautiful facility, an electric golf cart, in-house carnival splash playground for the little ones, sip and paint bicycle rides, quad bikes, boat ride to the Maha village, jet ski, banana boat, party bus ride, trip to Inzulezu, and so much more. So please go to the Maha Beach Resort today. All right, today. It's not just for accommodation. They also give you an experience. The Maha Beach Resort is an experience. It's a one-stop shop, family and friends, lovers, honeymoon destination today and always. We also cater for corporate events and so much more. So please give us a call on 030-397773 or mobile 0501-570684 or 054012-114, or send an email to sm@maharesort.com. Go and enjoy. In the meantime, you can also enjoy today on the show by winning 5,000 Ghana cedis. I have 15,000 cedis. I've been giving 15,000 cedis to give you. Okay? And how do I decide who to give it to? You have to dial *439# and select option 8 for our mega jackpot. 3 lucky winners are taking home 5,000 cedis each to solve a few problems, you know, ahead of payday. So dial now, *439#, select option 8 for MG jackpot, and you play and win. Play 25 to 50 times. 25 to 50 times. And you will win. Amen. Stay tuned. You're watching TV3 New Day. We'll be right back after this.